Hello everyone, nice to see you students. Welcome again to this 10th class of the Strategic Management Unit. We are close to the end. Thank you for having submitted the second summary paper. Please take in account that you have to submit the strategic analysis project on next Wednesday until 12 o'clock of your time zone, the strategic analysis project of a company. I'm pretty aware that you are worried about the final exam. I again tell you that you do not have to worry about the final exam. I would rather prefer that you focus on the strategic analysis project and the written case analysis rather than the final exam. We are going to make an overview of the final exam on next Monday the 4th. Okay, so you do not have to worry at all. During next class, next Wednesday, 29th, we are going to have a special guest speaker, who is going to speak us about the 7 main skills required in leadership. Okay, it's a very important class that we are having in the next class. He's gonna speak. He's a coach. He used to work at NASA, and he's gonna speak us about the 7 main skills that are required in the working world. And he's gonna provide us with some tools required in the 21st century professional skills, such as time management, emotional intelligence, team working, stress management, proactivity, motivation, and leadership. Okay. So it's going to be a great class. During this class, we are going to speak a little bit about internalization. We are going to speak about diversification. But at the beginning of the class, we are going to have a different class. Okay, we are going to speak about European economic, European Union economic, and the Spanish economy. Okay, you have to remember when we study the PESEL framework, and we have been studying how to analyze every company, that we cannot analyze companies as if they were isolated island. Okay, you have to analyze companies within the political context, within the economic framework on which they are located, and therefore we are going to speak during this class a little bit about Europe and about Spain. Okay, I am pretty aware that you were supposed to be here in Spain, in Europe, and we have not spoken a little during these classes about the European economy and about the Spanish economy. So during this video, we are going to speak briefly about the European economy, European political framework, how the European institutions work, and we are going to speak as well about the Spanish economy, the Spanish political framework, and what are the main Spanish institutions. First of all, we are going to start taking a look of who are the member states of the European Union. The European Union is formed by 27 member states. As you can see in the image, it was formed by 6 founders, member states, and then the rest of the member states were becoming member states depending on the year. For example, in the case of Spain and Portugal, we become member states in 1986. Okay, and as you can see in the picture, United Kingdom is still colored as if it were a part of the European Union. But from January 2020, this year, the European Union became the first member state to leave the European Union. So now, please forget about the United Kingdom. It's not a member anymore of the European Union, and we are a union of 27 member states. Before taking a look of the economic aspects of the European Union, we are going to continue with which is I think the main feature, the main characteristic of the European Union, which is the single market. Okay, as you can see in the image, we share with the other member states a common area called the Schengen area, okay, which allows us to have a single market. As you can see, with the collapse of communism across Central and Eastern Europe, Europeans become closer neighborhoods, and in 1993, the single market was completed with the four freedoms. This is very important. We share with the others 27, with the 10, across the 27 member states, four freedoms within the European Union, which are freedom of movement of goods, freedom of movement of services, freedom of movement of people, and freedom of movement of money. Okay, so there are no borders among member states. So I can drive if I want, for example, uh, through Madrid to Poland. Okay, and with this Corona crisis, this has been the first time during the Schengen space in which the member states has closed their frontiers, but it's been through an agreement of all the member states. Okay, and the Schengen area, which is the common area that we share among the member states, allow people to travel without having their passport checked at the borders. Millions of young people study in other countries with the support of the European Union. In my case, for example, I studied in Poland, part of my degree, due to a European Union scholarship called the Erasmus Scholarship. Okay, and for example, communication is made easier as roaming charges has been removed. So it's not more expensive to call to a part of Spain than rather to call to Germany or to Poland. It has to be the same price. Okay, and as again, please take in account that the United Kingdom is colored in yellow there, but it's not part of the European Union. The United Kingdom is in a transitional phase until the 31st of December 2020. Okay, so it's not anymore a member state of the European Union, but it's in a transitional phase. And during this year, during the United Kingdom, it remains subject to the European Union law and is part of the European Union single market and custom union, but it's not part of the European Union anymore. Here you can see the population of the European Union, 588 millions, but you have to take into account that it was before United Kingdom left the European Union. So as the United Kingdom is in a transitional phase during this year, you have to take into account that nowadays, once the United Kingdom has left definitely the European Union, within the European Union were 446 millions. Okay, so we are more people than the United States, more people than Russia and Japan, but we have less people than China and India, of course. Here you can find the population divided into member states. The most populated country is Germany, and then France, then United Kingdom. You have to do not take in account United Kingdom, then Italy, and the fourth most populated country is Spain with 46.5 millions. Here you can see the surface area. So we have less than the half of the surface area than the United States, Russia, or China, for example. Here you can see the surface area divided into the member states. So as you can see, Spain is the second biggest country in the European Union. Here you can see the size of the economy. The European Union is the biggest economy, but if you would see the wealth per person, the first country is United States and then European Union with 27,400 euros per person. And if you take a look of the gross domestic product per inhabitant in 2015 in Europe, the most wealthy people were in Luxembourg, then Ireland, then the Netherlands, Austria, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Belgium, United Kingdom, Finland, France, Italy, and Spain. So as you can see, Spain is more or less in the middle of the chart of the GDP per inhabitant within the other member states of the European Union. And here you can see the gross domestic product per capita of the European Union member states. As you can see, in the 2008 financial crisis, it went down and then it's been increasing more or less every year. And I think that with this corona crisis, it's going to go down again. And here you have the gross domestic product per capita divided into the member states, the 27 member states of the European Union. As you can see, Spain is in the middle with more or less 31,000 euros per capita per year. Once we have seen several economic aspects of the European economy, we are going to see the meaning of the Economic and Monetary Union, which represented a major step in the integration of the European Union economies in 1992. The Economic and Monetary Union involves a coordination of economic and fiscal policies, a common monetary policy, and a common currency, the euro. We shall all 27 European Union member states take part of the European Union. Just 19 countries have taken integration further and have adopted the euro as their common currency, as is the case of Spain. The monetary authority in the Eurozone is the Eurosystem, and the other 8 member states of the European Union continue to use their own national currency, although most of them are obliged to adopt the euro in the future. So when they fulfill certain requirements related with the deficit, with the unemployment rates, and so on, they are obliged to adopt the euro and to take part in the Economic and Monetary Union. As you can see in the chart, we are one of the biggest economic power of the world. More or less, if you see the percentage of the global export of goods in 2014, you can see as European Union represent more or less the 15% of such global exports of goods, and related with exports of services, European Union represented more or less a quarter, 25% of the global exports of services. Of course, we are not a country. We are a union of 27 countries of Europe. Our legal system is quite complex because all member states, we maintain our national legal system, and we work not through a constitution, through a common constitution. We work through treaties, which are signed by the total of the 27 member states. The most recently treaty is the Treaty of Lisbon in 2009. And as you can see in the image, we have directives and regulations. Directives are approved by the European Union Parliament, and they shall be implemented by the member states. They shall incorporate such directives in each legal national systems, and they do not have effect until the member states have incorporated them. So you as European Union citizen have to wait until your member state, your country, implement such directive, incorporate such directive into your legal system, so that it's legally binding. And however, regulations are legally binding in all member states from the date stated within them. So you do not have to wait as European Union citizen until your member state incorporates such regulation to your legal national system, because they are directly binding. And we are going to finish this first part before speaking about the European Union institutions, speaking about the Brexit. As you know, the United Kingdom decided on 2016 to leave the European Union through a polemic referendum with a very tiny margin. And David Cameron, who appointed the referendum, he resigned the next month as he was maintaining to remain in the European Union. And both parties are still negotiating the legal framework after the Brexit. And you have to take in account that the United Kingdom is not part anymore of the European Union since January 2020, but the European Union is in a transitional phase until 21st December of this year, during which remains subject to European Union law and part of the European Union single market and customs union. So both parties are still in negotiations among if they are going to have a hard Brexit without any agreement or a soft Brexit. As I told you, we have a complex legal system within the European Union. We have 6 main institutions of the European Union, which are the European Council, the Council of the European Union, the European Commission, the European Parliament, the European Court, and the European Central Bank. We are going to see a brief video explaining a little bit what's the role of each 6 main institutions of the European Union.
You have heard about the European Union, but what about the European Commission? Or the European Council? Or what about the European Parliament? Yes, the EU is a very complex system, so complex that even the former US Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, reportedly once asked, "Who do I call if I want to call Europe?" As the name suggests, the European Union is a political and economic union of 28 European countries. The genesis of the EU can be traced to the aftermath of the 2 world wars, which were responsible for millions of deaths and a devastated European economy. In 1958, 6 founding countries, Belgium, Germany, France, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands came together to form the European Economic Community. The idea was that with increased economic cooperation, they would be less likely to be drawn into conflict. What started as a purely economic partnership has evolved over the last 60 years into other policy areas too. These include security, climate, and foreign relations. To represent this broader remit, the European Economic Community became the European Union in 1993. So, how does the EU work? Well, one big thing to note is that there is no single leader of the European Union. Instead, its responsibilities are spread across 7 institutions. But we are going to focus on the 3 main ones: the European Commission, the European Parliament, and the Council of the European Union. Let's start with the European Commission. This is the engine room of the EU, the executive body that proposes new laws. Every member state has its own commissioner, but they're supposed to be politically independent, bound by a promise to represent the interests of the EU before their home countries. Each commissioner is in charge of a specific portfolio, similar to a government's cabinet of ministers. This institution is based in the Belgian capital, Brussels. Now, the European Parliament. It is based here in Brussels, but also in the French city of Strasbourg, where its members meet 12 times per year. This is where lawmakers vote on laws. Presently, it has 751 members of the European Parliament, or MEPs, from 28 member states. However, with the UK's departure from the EU, that number is set to come down to 705. Importantly, this is the only European institution that directly represents EU citizens. Every 5 years, citizens elect their representatives to the European Parliament. Finally, let's look at the Council of the European Union. It's made of ministers from the different EU member states. Ministers with similar roles, whether it be overseeing finance, education, or defense, meet regularly to discuss, amend, and adopt laws. The Council of the European Union, together with the European Parliament, are the main decision-making bodies of the EU. But don't confuse the Council of the European Union with the European Council. The leaders of the EU also meet in this building for quarterly summits. Discussions here often happen at the highest level, which is why you will see heads of state like the Chancellor of Germany and President of France meeting up in Brussels. Other important European bodies include the European Court of Justice, the Court of Auditors, and the European Central Bank. Based in Luxembourg, the ECJ ensures European law is interpreted and applied in the same way across the EU, kind of like the US Supreme Court. Also in Luxembourg is the Court of Auditors. It acts like the Union CFO, responsible for looking after the community budget. And then there is the European Central Bank in Frankfurt, which sets monetary policy in the Eurozone. Yes, that's right, the Eurozone, not the EU. This is another important distinction. Currently, only 19 of the 28 EU member states form the Eurozone, while the remaining 9 are still using their own national currencies. The EU is a complex political arrangement. Critics say that it will not survive due to the many differences of opinion between and within each country. And with tens of thousands of people across dozens of nationalities working for the EU, its institutions have also been criticized for its bureaucracies and complexities, saying it makes it hard to get things done. At the same time, this arrangement has lasted more than 60 years and has so far achieved its main aim, avoiding war between the neighboring countries.
As you are aware, the spending on research and development is crucial for the future. You can see how Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, they are spending billions in research and development. And here you can see in this chart what's the percentage among the gross domestic product that the European Union is spending in research and development. We are spending more or less 2%, 2.06% of our gross domestic products on research and development. We are behind the United States, and we are behind Japan and China. And here in this chart you can see an image of what are the candidates countries and potential candidates to become members of the European Union. So as you know, United Kingdom left the European Union, but we still have a lot of countries that wish to become part of the European Union. For example, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Montenegro, Kosovo, Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Albania, Serbia, Turkey, and finally you can see the 27 European Union countries together. Through this image you can see for example, 2017 European Union budget, 157 billion. It's more or less 1.05% of the European Union 27 gross national income, so it's not a big budget related with our gross national income. And as you may see in the chart, the majority of the expenditure is being to competitiveness for growth and jobs, economic, social and territorial cohesion, sustainable growth, natural resources, security and citizenship, and etc. As you can see in the image, one of the main parts of the expenditure of the European Union is a cohesion policy. It's expenditure on solidarity among the European Union member states. In the period for 2014 and 2020, we have spent 352 billion invested in new infrastructure, business, environment, and training of workers for the benefit of poor and regions and citizens. So you can see the regions, depending on its wealthy, related with the average of the European Union, and where has been dedicated the majority of the social solidarity expenditure among the European Union. As you know, the 2008 financial crisis, the subprime crisis, subprime mortgages, started in the United States, and the coordinated response from European leaders was high commitment to the euro and to financial stability, new crisis management tools and reform of rules, and better economic governance. For example, we have an European semester and a procedure to coordinate public budgets, or a fiscal compact treaty, which are mutual commitments to sound public finances. And we are going to finish this video by speaking about what was the response of the European Union to the 2008 financial crisis. We finished the crisis through a banking union. For example, we adopt a rule book, new laws to ensure that banks have adequate capital and better risk control. We adopt supervision. The European Central Bank supervised more or less 130 of the most important banks of the European Union, and national banks supervisors, in the case of Spain, the Bank of Spain, work closely together with the European Central Bank. And finally, we adopted a resolution system. A Europe-wide single resolution vote can decide to wind down a failing bank, and this backed by a fund that banks themselves pay into, thus ensuring that taxpayers do not have to pick up the bill. So the European Union can decide when a bank could be rescued by other bank or purchased by other bank, despite the fact that the shareholders of such bank lose everything. And for example, in Spain, we have a case on such resolution with the Bank Popular, which was purchased by the Santander Bank for €1 here in Spain a couple of years ago. We are going to finish the video by speaking a little bit about what are the main challenges of the European Union. Maybe they are not too different from the main challenges that you have in the United States. The first challenge, I would say that the first challenge that we have in the European Union is to define what's the level of integration as a political union through several institutional reforms. So we do not know if we want to become a country, what's the level of integration that we desire among member states. There are certain countries, as for example Spain, which desire a higher level of integration among countries, but other countries, for example France or Germany, they do not desire such a degree of integration. For example, we tried to approve a European Union constitution, but it was refused by people in a referendum in several European Union member states. So we have not clear if we decide to be a country with our particularities, but we are defining what's the level of integration that we have to have during the next years. As you know, we share a lot of things, mainly economic things, the 4 single markets freedoms. We share the economic, the Eurozone, the Economic and Monetary Union. But despite the fact that we share a lot of economic aspects, we do not share a lot of political aspects, as our response to immigration, our external political affairs, and our defense politics, and so on. So the second main challenge will be the immigration and refugee crisis and border controls. We do not have internal borders. As I told you, we share the Schengen area, despite the fact that due to this coronavirus crisis, the member states have already put into force their own borders, but this is an exceptional situation. And the third challenge is how to control demographic principles on the member states. We do not have enough children, so we have to invest on demographic basis. We have a very old people. And finally, the climate change and Brexit. Of course, another main challenge of the European Union nowadays is how are we going to respond this corona crisis, which is causing a lot of economic impacts among the member states. Well, thank you, students. This is all for the European economy. We are going to speak now about the Spanish economy. Thank you.